Let's call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Reverend Matias is excused this evening. I do not see any public comments, so we'll move into our business items this afternoon. First is our purchasing agenda, and Ms. Cribbs, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay, so we will just jump right in and start going through the purchasing agenda. It is actually a longer one for us right now. We're still trying to get some things up and running for this school year. So under the first one, we've got a permission to modify a blanket order for some of the boiler and HVAC services for the operations department. So that's an increase there. I think with our shortage of staffing, we're using outside services to help maintain more than we had planned on. We have under instructional supplies and equipment under grants, we've got software licenses for Inspire Literacy to support the newcomers program. When we did some of the work with CAL, Center for Applied Linguistics, they had recommended that we do some additional resources for the newcomers program. So continuing to work on that and strengthen that program as well. Going down, we're getting into some of our ESSER funding, looking to do 2 SEL surveys for staff and GRPS caregivers and professional development related to how to administer that with Panorama. We've used Panorama before, so it's similar to that. With the Kent Social School Services Network, they're providing mental health support to our scholars in various locations throughout the district. There are some items that they are not able to bill for directly, so they're looking for us to support the services that they're providing to our students and families. So we're gonna look to do that with some of our ESSER funding right now to get some additional supports to students. We've got on there some system upgrades for administrative meeting rooms. We're using a couple of our rooms more. And when I talked to Greg, he was going to be here this afternoon but couldn't. He said, our tech team is very good and they've pieced together some things. But looking now that especially room 112 next door is getting additional work, as well as downstairs in room 101. And some of the equipment, 101, he said, like the projector down there is over 8 years old. So just wanting to upgrade those rooms that get a lot of use to have not be held together with duct tape. This next group is with Fax Education Solutions, part of the Grand Rapids Christian Schools Title I and Title IV allocations that they get. They like to use the Fax Education Solutions for their support. And out of the family, we're looking to do work with the Literacy Center of West Michigan. We did a pilot program using our Title I funding last year to provide some family language instruction for our area families. Would like to continue that for another year with using ESSER funding.
Would that be the a continuation with family literacy, or is this new for family literacy as the provider for those services?
It was kind of a pilot program that I want to say last February, March is when we started doing some sessions and all of that. So it's relatively new. The first part was funded with Title I, and now looking to continue.
But we're continuing with that provider?
Yes.
Okay, so they did it last year. We're continuing to use their services. Okay.
Yep. Under buildings and sites, looking to do renovations at Dickinson Elementary, and finally, the long-awaited Southwest Community Campus Playground, both the pre-K and the elementary students, and roofing repairs to a number of our buildings that was placed out for bids, and this came back looking to get these all set up and ready to go for installation or work next summer. And the last item, we have is to create the new sound recording studio, get the design and renovation plans in place for Ottawa Hills for their new academy. So,
That's everything.
as I can say, it was a long purchasing agenda at this time.
All right. Any further discussion or questions about any of the items? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. We'll move forward to our reports and updates. So first is our September 22 financial statements.
Okay. Not sure, Julie, do we have those pulled up? Okay. Just a couple things I'll highlight on that as Julie pulls up. Thank you. So I'm going to jump right to the statements. The memos are pretty standard. We've got the items on there that we're still unaudited until we actually get through tonight's presentation. So on our general fund balance sheet, there's one item on there that's a little unusual. We have a deferred inflows of resources, it's unavailable revenue on one of our grants. Last year, the emergency connectivity grant that came through later, we had about $3 million of expenditures, but because we didn't receive that funding within 60 days, we weren't able to recognize it as revenue in last year's financial statements. It's one of those accounting rules that we have to follow. When I was talking with the auditors, they don't think any school district in Michigan has received their funding through ECF this year for last year's expenditures. So it's not unusual, it's not anything that we did, it's just a federal government grant that is being extended out. So hopefully we'll get everything resolved and we'll get that revenue in, but it will just result in a timing difference for us. Ongoing, the application for this year, we did not put a lot of technology into that. The only thing I believe we still have in there for 22-23 is service, for our hotspots. So it shouldn't be as big of an issue going forward. And hopefully they'll get their processes worked out and it won't be as long. On the general fund for the revenue, you'll notice property taxes is significantly over budget. That is a good thing. It's our property tax collections were based on an estimate and they're coming in higher. So we'll amend that in our first budget amendment. Grants, likewise, as we closed out last year, a lot of our local grants give us the funding up front, and we haven't spent it yet, so we've just reversed it back out into revenue, so we'll adjust that in our first budget amendment. For the most part, expenses are tracking as we would expect. One, and it's right there at the top, under other basic programs, you see we're over on the grant side. Let me see if I can go up without going way up. Actual with about $1 million, that is summer school. So we'll adjust that budget as well, but it's like, and there's a good reason why it's fully expended. But other than that, things are tracking as we would expect. Nothing unusual going through our special revenue funds. There's the memo, kind of highlights some of what I just talked about. And as well with debt retirement, we will be making our next debt payments they're due on November 1st. So we'll be making those next week, or this week for next week. Capital projects, again, not much going on here. We've got the sinking fund still is carrying a small balance, but and then most of it is under that 2019 capital projects for the bond issue. And down through our cash and all of those statements that you normally see as well. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions on that.
Any questions? No? Appreciate the walkthrough. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll welcome Mr. Smart up for our bond construction update.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. The bond report will be fairly short. We are continuing on phase 2 and 3 on the Central High School project. The date that they're going to turn over the building to us will be November 30th, which will give us in the month of December to move back in and start removing the furniture for phase 4, which will start in January. There are two areas or two unforeseen issues that are coming up. We're waiting to get pricing. One of them is the front stairs of the building. When you guys walk up here, these front stairs, we have the same thing over at Central. It's not as bad as ours, but it is larger area. So we're waiting to get some pricing. I'm expecting it'll be a significant cost. And we also have found additional water damage up in the above the auditorium on the exterior walls, and we're doing an investigation to see if we have any structural issues to deal with. So stay tuned. Our contingency is okay. This will be something that if we move forward, it will be covered within the contingency that you guys have approved already. But I know that you would want to know, so I'll let you know as we get more information.
Mr. Smart, will you describe what contingency is for anybody who may not know?
Well, yes. What we usually try to do is to have additional funds set aside, roughly 5% if possible. Personally, I would like to go more for 10% on renovation projects. And that is an owner-controlled budget that is set aside for cases like this where we find something that we did not expect, that were not part of the basic scope of work. The contractor did not anticipate that, therefore they did not price it. So then we usually then use that contingency funds to be able to cover the cost of things that we really should do. If we don't have the funds, obviously we'll have to defer the work. But if we have the funds, we'd like to do it.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions about Innovation Central? The turnover.
The phase 4, what is the primary focus of phase 4?
It's good you asked. It is going to be the first floor where the Montessori program is. Now, we have already had conversations with the principals, both Montessori principal and Innovation Central, and the executive directors. And we do have enough space. We do have enough classrooms to accommodate the entire area. So that has already been established. It has been approved by the principals and the staff at the school level. So we're just going to be ready then to start the moves in December.
Excellent.
Good. Okay, any other discussion or questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Smart.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, I see nothing else on the agenda, right? Okay, well, with that, we will adjourn this meeting of the Finance Committee. Thank you so much.